Hello, everyone, and welcome back to a brand new episode of Hard Hats and High Tech, RIB's video podcast series where we uncover the insights, innovations, and strategies to tackle some of the challenges of modern day construction. I'm your host, Bernardita Carlson, speaking to you from my office in Santiago, in Chile, and I'm super excited for today's episode, as we are tackling a topic that is often discussed but frequently misunderstood: digital transformation in construction. To discuss this relevant topic, I'm joined by not one, but two guests, TJ Boyle and Tony Shaw. Together, we'll explore why digital transformation is not as daunting as it might seem and explore some best practices to help you integrate digital technologies into your projects. Tony, TJ, it's a pleasure to have you here today. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank
Thank
you,
you, Bernard.
Bernadette. Pleasure
Glad
to be here.
Okay, to get started, we usually ask our guests to tell us a little bit about themselves, a little bit of their background, and why they are the perfect person for this episode. So, Tony, would you like to get started?
Sure, yeah. Tony Shaw, based out of Auckland in New Zealand. So originally from the UK, been in the construction industry for, heavens, 40 years. Good grief, does make me sound old, but yeah, so 40 years in the construction industry, the last 16 of which have been with RIB. So worked in industry before, been on the other side of the fence, so implemented software in my working life for quantity surveyors and construction estimators, and then moved into that field of working with software myself.
TJ,
Okay.
what about you?
Yeah, thank you, Bernadita. And so I've spent the majority of my career in construction as well. And I started in a precast concrete manufacturing company, and we sold products to residential homes in Florida. And then after that, have spent the majority of my career in construction software. So a little bit of time in BIM modeling for cold form steel trusses, and then into some of the bidding software, and now into RIB for the last 3 years, working with some of our software here, whether it's specifications or cost decks or things like that. So it's been kind of a fun journey to go on. The first job that I had, we didn't even have email, so it was really still a lot of paper. So you could say we did a little bit of a digital transformation there as well, but it's fun to see how things have kind of grown and continue to evolve over the years.
Okay, before we go into the seriousness of digital modernization, and since this is my first time hosting two guests, I'd like to give you the opportunity to ask the other one question that is not related to today's topic. So, TJ, would you like to start?
Sure. So Tony, are you still into underwater hockey? I know we've talked about that before. It is an up and coming Olympic sport, soon to
Wow.
be, but do you still follow the underwater hockey scene?
Only as far as my daughter plays it. So being chronically asthmatic myself, there's no way I can play underwater hockey. I can't hold my breath for it at all. But my daughter has pursued that since
awesome.
school. Yes, yeah.
Yeah, fascinating. After you introduced me to that, it's been fascinating to watch some of that on YouTube and see the athletes.
I had no idea that sport even existed, so I'm gonna have to look at some videos myself.
It's definitely not a good spectator sport. Obviously, all the action happens at the bottom of the pool. It's like, what's going on?
Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah, that's good. And TJ, so you, I believe, were at the game on Sunday, was it, when you were messaging me?
Yes.
Yes. You were a long-time Padres fan, are you?
Well, Atlanta Braves. You can see
Braves,
my bobbleheads in the background. So yes, my family and I enjoy going to the Braves games. We probably go to about 10 to 12 a year. But that's we live pretty close to the stadium, so that's kind of been a pastime for us to go watch the baseball, and looking forward to the All-Star game in Atlanta this year, for those that follow.
Nice. So you two are really into sports, I can see.
Yes.
All right. Now that we've broken the ice a little bit, let's go into the core of our conversation. I want to start with you, Tony. So, digital transformation is a phrase that gets thrown around a lot. So, what does it really mean in construction?
Oh, it can mean a lot of things, I guess, depending where you're from. As I've already mentioned, when I first started back in 1985, we didn't even have computers in the office, let alone out on site. So over the course of my working career, I've seen a massive digital transformation from literally everything being done on pen and paper with the scale rules and measuring to now the opportunity for virtually everything to be done digitally. You know, all the design with BIM is fantastic. You can sort of prototype the building before it even gets near the site. And then all the procedures and processes on site being digitalized and made more efficient. So it's, as I say, I've seen the whole gamut from zero digitalization to now a high degree and everything in between.
Okay, TJ, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I agree with Tony, and it's in construction, I think is unique. In a lot of places, we see digital transformation replacing something physical. We used to do certain things by paper or write checks on paper, and now a lot of that's digital and completely replaced. And that's how those industries have transformed. I think the fun thing and why I love the construction industry is that the construction industry is still at its core a physical manifestation of something that's been designed. And so even though we go through digital transformation, our final output is still something tangible and physical that we live in, that we work in for entertainment. So it's, to me, in construction, it's about the process of improving and creating efficiencies within the physical or the built world, and blending the digital and the physical together.
Okay, so from what I'm hearing from both of you, it definitely brings many benefits. But I want to challenge that idea for a second because I'm sure many companies might be wondering if they can keep doing the same things that they've been doing for the past 20 years. So, TJ, in your opinion, is digital transformation really necessary for the construction industry?
Yeah, I think so. And I think if you ask a lot of companies, even the ones that say, look, we've got something that works very well and we don't want to disrupt that. If you say, do you believe technology exists that would help you run your business better? I don't know many people that would say no. Or do you believe that your processes could use some improvement? I mean, we all say yes to that. So I think it is needed, but it's what it takes a lot of work to get it done in a way that's improvement. And I think that's the important piece of partnering with others in the industry, is finding ways where digital transformation is more than just a, hey, we did it, I put a slogan on it, but actually investing the time to do it well and to do it right.
Okay, now those sounds like really convincing arguments. However, the industry is known for being super slow transitioning to this digital environment. So, Tony, what would you say are some of the biggest challenges that are keeping construction to going fully digital?
I guess that, well, there's a heap, but one of the primary ones would be the fact that most construction projects are unique. It's not like you're designing a process which you can repeat over and over and over again just to get the same result. With construction, every project is generally different. Every building is unique, and there's challenges for again, you're not working in a factory environment where all the workforce in one place. You can be miles and miles away from the centre. Each site is a way out in the sticks, could be miles from anywhere. So there is a challenge in infrastructure and in the processes.
TJ, maybe you can add something.
Yeah, I think that is the kind of the fun challenge in construction, and there's plenty of studies out there that show where different industries are. And I think because of those challenges Tony mentioned about the location of the job site, the people being physically in multiple places at any given time, it's not as easy as some fields. And I think that's in some sense also why it's more important in what we do. And so it's about finding those things, understanding the reality of the challenges and not trying to paper over them and say, well, this is digital because we bought a this or we did a that, but actually finding things that dive into the reality of the people on the site building the buildings and designing them, and how can we find parts of that process that can be automated while respecting some of the realities that maybe not everything can be solved for immediately.
Okay, so it's really taking the time to go through the process. Sorry, Tony. Yes. What do you?
I was just going to expand on what we're saying. And again, it's
Please.
the question of collaboration. Really, you've got all these, not only the workforce in disparate places and the job site, but you've got engineers, architects, mechanical engineers, landscape designers, all these different people working in different offices. They're all remote from one another. Again, back in the old days, it used to be a question of one person designing something, passing the baton on to the next to fill their piece of the puzzle in, and then on to the next. Now with digital collaboration, everyone can work a lot more efficiently on a prototype, a digital prototype of the building in the design sense.
Yeah, so collaboration is a huge aspect, I guess, in the entire industry. It comes up all the time. On every time we have conversations here, it always comes up. Now, Tony, I want to stay with you. You said you are super experienced in the construction industry. So, based on your experiences, what are some best practices that really make the difference when starting this digital journey?
The best practice, or the key aspect, is getting buy-in from the people that you're transforming their lives, I guess, the way they work, they do their day-to-day business. If a lot of people, as myself, as we've said, have been in the industry for a long time, they have their preferred ways of doing things. And again, if they've been allowed to develop their own Excel spreadsheets or their own working practices, they will be firmly aligned to those and want to continue doing the things the way they've always done them. So I guess it's a question of getting the people on board, showing them as we can with our software that it's a better way of doing things, an easier way for them to work, and getting their buy-in so that they're on the journey with you from the get-go.
It sounds like super good advice. TJ, do you have an additional advice also you want to give?
I'll echo what Tony said. The collaboration is key, and a lot of my experience has been on the software side and identifying solutions for our customers. I think there's a high responsibility for a vendor to make it a dialogue, not a presentation, because there are things that you have to understand about the customer's business and identify not all the pieces of your software are going to work for every customer, or the way that they're applied can mean the difference between success or something just sitting on the shelf. So that dialogue and that collaboration, understanding the strengths of each other to find where the opportunities are for growth is certainly key.
Okay, that's interesting what you mentioned there. So it's not only about internal collaboration, it's also about the vendor being able to get these people to buy into the technology. That's interesting to see that collaboration is not only internal, but it's goes to all stakeholders, which brings me to my next question. Tony, maybe you can answer this one. What is the role of the customer when it comes to a digital transformation?
Oh heavens! Okay, that's a big question. First, they've got to pay the check. That's the first thing they've got to do. No, but other than that, it's repeated what we said. Really, there's that buy-in that they have got to be able to express what they want from the software, what the changes are, collaborate with us to either adapt to their business processes or adapt the software, configure the software the way that best fits their business process. So it's all about that dialogue again, about, from a customer's perspective, putting someone in front of the software vendor who's experienced enough to know what the outcomes they want are, and help us to set the software up to best suit their needs.
Okay.
Yeah, Tony, I would echo that again. Having someone there who can drive us toward the outcomes that they're looking to achieve, because they've likely chosen to go on the digital transformation journey on purpose. They've intentionally made that choice. And so I think the planning on their side is very important so that we can come alongside and help them. So some of that can depend on the size of the organization. There's often a need for someone internally at the customer, as Tony said, to be that, I'll phrase it, be that champion within the organization, because there will be change management. We experience that. I mean, we go through digital transformations at our company too, even though we're a software vendor. There's still things and processes that we're improving and replacing. Mm-hmm. And from personal experience, those that that go through where someone internally is helping and coming alongside those that may not understand or may not be as close to that decision. When you have someone going alongside you and helping you see that end vision internally, then that makes a lot of difference in our ability, whether we're the customer or the vendor, to be able to adopt that change.
Okay, so the vendor plays really a huge role. And I also asked a vendor, want to ask, maybe this is a little bit of a hard question and it depends from case to case, but I'm sure many companies that are going into a digital transformation are wondering, how long will it take? Is this a multi-year process, or do we have like quick wins along the way? What would you tell someone who has this question?
Yeah, I'll jump in first. I think one of the things that comes to mind is, it's a couple of just kind of old sayings. One is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Or when's the best time to plant a tree? With digital transformation, it's we see how in our personal lives how fast things change, and we're experiencing that now with the growth of AI and how that's just evolved even in the last 12 months. So understand that digital transformation isn't an end point. It's a journey. And so take the piece that you can accomplish. Don't be intimidated by the complexity or the size of it, but find something that you can easily consume and then use that as a building block to keep adding and keep expanding and, looking forward.
Okay. Tony, do you agree with this answer, or do you want to add something?
I do, yeah, nothing more to add to that, really. That's pretty much it. I mean, in terms of you saying, is it a weeks or months or years? I mean, it all depends on the software that has been implemented. Again, if you're building an extension on the back of your house, that's going to take a set amount of time. If you're building a 60-story apartment building, that's obviously going to take a lot longer. So it depends on the size of the project that you're working on. But again, just echoing TJ's sentiment, we just take it one bite at a time. And I think that's probably the most successful implementations I've been on is where it's been a staged rollout. Rather than the big bang, everyone cut over to the new system on day one. It's taking those building blocks, as TJ says, and expanding on them.
Yeah, Tony, if I could, Bernadette, if you don't mind, I may have a question for Tony to drill into something.
Of course, I love it.
You said kind of rolling it out in stages. I think that sometimes we see that kind of decision is, should we wait a couple of months and try to do 100 people at once versus, start with a couple now and then go over stages? It sounds like your experience, and I know you've done a lot in terms of driving customer success. Do you see it usually better to start with that? And what's the dynamic you see that's different between the, hey, let's wait and do everything all at once versus going in stages?
So a couple of aspects. One is the people, again, the change management. So again, it's when I was on the other side of the fence, when I wasn't actually working in software, I was still in construction, and I worked for a company that did a big bang cut over, that every department accounts, the building sites, all the office staff, everyone cut over to new system on one day. And the company pretty much stalled. It just took one person to not want to do it, not be familiar with what they needed to do, to not fill in their piece of the puzzle. And because everyone else was relatively unfamiliar with it, it just it created a headache. So my view would have been better, and we've implemented this way before, where you get one department, say, up and running. They're fully conversive with what they need to do and how it works, and then you can introduce the next piece of the puzzle, just expand on that. So iron out any bugs is the wrong word, because that's the software. Any there's no bugs in the software. Any problems, or I don't know what word I'm looking for here, but yeah, iron out any issues with the implementation in one department, and then roll it on to the next and next and next, and just let it grow organically.
Yeah. That was actually a really good question, and it makes a lot of sense to start small and then start expanding. And I want to stay with you, Tony, for a little bit, because I know, as you've told us, you're super experienced. And I want to maybe ask you if you could tell us about a project that was super successful where you were a part of the digital transformation, so we can bring this topic down to earth with a real world example.
I probably shouldn't name names as who it was, but no. There's one that particularly sticks into mind where I worked with a small team, just 3 or 4 key people from the business who we met on a regular basis and mapped out exactly what they wanted, got the software configured, all the report templates, everything set up, and they actually engaged us to redesign our training to fit the way that we'd configured the software, so that then when we went out to the business and did this whole global rollout, we were traveling out to each region, teaching the business, the people in the business, how to use the software exactly the way it was going to be used, so that when we did cut over, literally they just followed what they did in the training and pressed the print button, and the reports that they needed came out at the end of the day. So that was super successful in terms of just getting everything set up right, working with these champions or the conduit through the business. Yeah, not a lot more to say about that because I can't mention any names, I'm sure.
We get the idea and how it was successful. So that's an interesting case. How about you, TJ? Do you have a story to share with us?
Yeah, I can do that. So we had a large customer, and I'm going to go a little bit outside of the construction industry just because I think the principles of digital transformation really kind of apply. The way to do things successfully has a lot of similarity regardless of the industry you're in. But this was when I worked for a company that did HRIS software. And so that's also like construction, a very complicated, very critical business piece of information. And there's some similarities to what Tony described. And that this was a multi-thousand person company that was changing over a lot of their back end processes. And so in that case, I mean, we were replacing 6-7 foot stacks of paper that were on the floor and lined up in walls and things like that. And so a lot of that was planning ahead of time. So we went down and would kind of whiteboard out what the workflows were. So the key thing that we tried to do was not say, what do you do now and how do we replicate that? But to take it and say, what's the end goal of where you're trying to get to? What are you trying to achieve? And kind of almost start with a blank slate, or really do start with a blank slate and say, well, if this is where you want to be at the end, then let's map what that needs to look like. And I think for them, it was very successful because it stepped out of let's have a common goal that we're trying to get to. So we were able to avoid the tension you sometimes get of, well, I do it this way now. And so I just want to replicate that same process, but do that process digitally. And so they were really able to take advantage of, where technology had gone and advanced over the years.
Okay, so from both of your stories and basically from the whole conversation, what I can take is companies should take it one step at a time, collaborate, and really have strict goals to follow in order to make it less overwhelming, I guess. Now, before we go, I would like to hear both of your perspectives on one last question. How do you envision the future of digital transformation in the construction industry over the next 5 years? Tony, if you want to start.
Good question. I wish I had a crystal ball to answer that.
Well, yeah.
But as TJ's already mentioned, the advent, AI has been around for decades already, but it really is sort of gaining momentum now in terms of AI. So I'm struggling to answer that one because I think the world is changing so fast and is so fluid at the moment that we don't know where things are going. Have you got anything you can say on that, TJ?
Well, I do have a crystal ball, Tony, and I can tell you exactly where we'll be in 5 years, but I think you and I will just start a business and do that thing, and then we'll be... No, I'm just kidding.
All right. So such a secret. If we tell anyone, we've got to kill them. Is that right?
Yeah, right. I think, I'm with you in this, in the sense that the complexity of the industry, as well as the speed of development technology, makes it really hard to predict 5 months. So I'll say where I hope it goes. And to me, that we've hit on this theme a little bit already, but it's collaboration. And that's one of the things that when Tony first described a lot of the experience that we've had early in our careers is still the situation today in construction, where you can end up with communication silos. Now, it's definitely better than it used to be. We can communicate and we can share, files and pictures and things, when we first started, we'd have to stop, go find a payphone down the road to make a phone call and reach out to somebody. So I hope that collaboration, it continues to move that direction where there's more kind of open sharing of information as it's appropriate, and more collaboration on that. So that's where I think there's the most opportunity, is continuing to bring more synergies and alignment within the communication and the collaboration that we have from design through operate and into the maintenance of the building or the physical property.
Okay, so yeah, like you say, I know it's super hard, especially with how technology is advancing super fast, to predict what will happen, but I guess we can hope for a more collaborative construction industry in the coming years. So yeah, I think that is all we have time for today. TJ, Tony, thank you very much for joining me. This was a really insightful conversation and an entertaining format to have two guests. So thank you very much. And to our audience, thank you for joining us once again. And we'll be back with another episode very soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye now.